guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today we're doing another reading vlog, and this time I'm doing specifically books that are set in or around bookstores. So I have 4 books here. One of them I've started this morning, hence why there is a little blue ribbon hanging out. Yes, we've got 2 romances. We've got the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which is new out. I think, was it last month, this month, whenever. And then we have Love Story by Lindsay Kelk, which came out a few months ago. So these 2 are like romances set in bookstores. And then we have 2 translated fictions. So I have More Days at the Murasaki Bookshop, which is the one I've started this morning. I won't even tell me how many pages I've gotten through. I've only gotten not even 20 pages through this book. So this one follows on from Days at the Murasaki Bookshop, which I read a few months ago. So yeah, this is Japanese fiction. The first book follows a girl called Takako, who ends up living and working in her uncle's bookshop after sort of a bad time. This is following her then leaving and she's got a new job now. She's moved out, but she still goes back to the bookshop, and it's just very cozy basically. And then we've got Welcome to the Hyungnam-dong Bookshop. It's also a translated fiction. This one is Korean. I honestly do not know a thing about this book because I can't remember. I'll read you the synopsis of this one because I also need a refresher. Youngju did everything she was supposed to. Go to university, marry a decent man, get a respectable job. Then it all fell apart. Burnt out, Youngju abandons her old life, quits her high-flying career and follows her dream. She opens a bookshop. In a quaint neighbourhood in Seoul, surrounded by books, Youngju and her customers take refuge. From the lonely barista to the unhappily married coffee roaster and the writer who sees something special in Youngju, they all have disappointments in their past. The Hyungnam-dong Bookshop becomes the place where they all learn how to truly live. So this I just think this sounds really cozy. So yeah, we have 4 books we're going to be reading this week, which are thankfully all a lot shorter than the books I was reading last week. I don't think I had a book under 450 pages last vlog, whereas these ones, they're all under 400 pages as far as I'm aware. So this is going to be a lot easier for me this week. Anyway, I've started the More Days at the Murasaki Bookshop this morning. Like I say, I've only gotten into chapter 3. This one, I don't actually know what the plot is, but I find a lot with Japanese fiction, there's not always a plot. Sometimes it's just more of a character study, and I think this is the case here. But it's just the setting, the place it's set at. So there's, I forget where it's called. It should be on the front. It's set in Tokyo, in this neighborhood called Jimbocho, where there is 100, how many shops is there? Or more than 170 stores that are all specifically bookshops. So that sounds amazing. I would love that, honestly. I don't know if it's actually a real place in Tokyo or if it is made up, because 170 shops, all just bookshops in one neighborhood in Tokyo, sounds like a lot. But yeah, the whole point is that every shop in that neighborhood sort of has their own speciality. So some will do specifically to do with art, or some will do only first editions. And so in this case, they're a second-hand bookshop, and they do have a few rare books as well, but mostly they just deal with more modern second-hand books. Yeah, so we'll see how we go with this one. I think as well there's a few things I want to get done today. So the only book in this pile that has an audiobook is Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which I might listen to a tiny bit on audio while I get things done. But the goal for today is to finish this book because it's the shortest. It's my day off. It's 163 pages, so should be completely doable. And I will update you as I read these what I think. not great lighting. It's currently like a golden hour through my back window and I can't see if I look in that direction. I've just finished Murasaki Bookshop. I'm probably going to give it a 4 stars. I think I preferred the first book more. This one got quite sad at the end. And I think I preferred the first one because it was about falling in love with books. This one was more about searching for books and like looking for a message or looking for a feeling within books, I guess that's the best way to say it. But obviously it was still just the characters' lives, and yeah, it probably spans like a year and a half maybe in this short book, but the last like 9 months goes by really quickly. It was good. I enjoyed it. Not as much as the first though. I'm probably gonna get, rate it a 4 stars. It's a very quick read. Yeah, like I said, I just think I preferred the first one. There was a lot more humour in the first one as well, I feel. But yeah, I'm gonna go on to read I keep wanting to call it the Pumpkin Spice Bookstore. It's not. Or the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. It's also not that. That's the actual first book, which I've read. No, I didn't read. I listened to the first 3 chapters of the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and I feel like I don't like the audiobook, to be honest with you. So I feel like I don't know how I feel about the book yet, because I find the audiobook makes or breaks a book for me listening to it. So I'm gonna just fully read it from now on. So I'm gonna have my tea and then start properly reading the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and hopefully I'll like it a lot more than the audiobook. I'm roughly 100-ish pages into this book. I'm on chapter 11. I don't know how I feel about the book. I think, so I started it as an audiobook. I listened to the first 3 chapters and I do not recommend the audiobook. It's one woman and she sounds too old to be only turning 30 as the character is. So yeah, I wasn't fussed on the audiobook, so I didn't feel like I got into the book in those first couple chapters. So I feel like I haven't yet connected with the book or the characters. I don't even know their names. Hazel and Noah. What I really don't like, this is a very autumnal colour. You've got the autumn, like maple leaves. You've got an autumnal tree. You've got autumn bunting on the shop. It's screaming fall autumn. It's set in summer, and they released it as like at the beginning of autumn, like to be like the autumn book. It's set in summer. I don't think it's, I don't know what part of summer. My brain is saying it's probably set in like July. It could be set in August, because in America isn't like September's kind of summer still in America, but it's just not cozy autumnal vibes like I thought it was going to be. And I've already said my gripes with the name change. I much preferred Bluebell Bookstore, but it is what it is. I just feel, I don't know. I think the plot currently is that someone is putting like messages in books in her bookstore. They're all boring. It was like eat blueberries, something with a Ferris wheel, go to the beach. Like, it's all really boring stuff. It's not very it's not very adventurous at all. It's not even like a treasure hunt or anything. It's like, that's boring. And I'm not feeling like, I don't really feel a connection between the 2 characters. Like, Noah's a bit of a playboy with anyone who's a tourist, and it's like a known thing, and anytime anyone brings it up to him, it gets like a bit funny about it. And I'm like, I do not understand men like that, where people are like, oh well, yeah, but you don't do long-term relationships, and they get offended. But it's like, you've never done a long-term relationship, you just do casual sex. Why are you getting offended by someone pointing out a fact? But anyway, I'm gonna keep reading. I might like it more. I didn't love the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I think it was like a 3.5 I gave it. Maybe that's probably higher than I probably would have given it now. But to keep reading it. The writing, at least, the font is big. So I'm kind of like, I can fly through it. I just don't feel like, I feel like Hazel's not a very well fleshed out character, and I feel like Noah's just a bit blah. So this is slightly disappointing, I can't lie. But I'm gonna continue anyway. Okay, I have this morning finished the Zimmerman bookstore. I've finished the last 140 pages. I went shopping this morning, so I listened to the rest of this book because I was not going to finish it otherwise, to be honest. And I finished it the whole time I was out shopping. So I've rated this a 2.75. I just didn't care. To be honest, I didn't feel a need to pick this up. The writing was fine. I didn't really have any attachment to the characters. I didn't have any investment in the love story. I was bored, to be honest. I was bored. So that is all I'm going to say about this book. I've already told you how I hate that it looks like an autumn book and it's set in summer. I hate the name of it. Yeah, I've already discussed that. So yeah, I've finished it this morning. I don't really recommend, personally. It's fine, but it's nothing standout. It's nothing special. So yeah. Anyway, next I need to figure out, am I going to read Welcome to the Hyungnam-dong Bookshop first or Love Story first? So this one is, people don't know she's a romance author, that's very popular. And this one is like, woman has divorced and changed her life. I think I'm going to go with this one, to be honest. I'm feeling it. Yeah, this will be my first Korean translated fiction book. Okay, I managed to read 64 pages, well 63 pages yesterday. I love how at the end of a chapter there's like a little illustration of her walking a dog. I just think that's really cute. So far this is quite a slow book. It's not really got plot. It's just you're learning a little bit more about the characters kind of as you go through each chapter. So I think a couple chapters ago, at some point in the last 60 pages, so they do like author talks and stuff at her bookshop, and she like transcribes interviews and then posts it online or on Instagram and stuff. And they did like a little transcribed bit of this author talk, and he was talking about like getting into reading, and she asked him like how much he read. And he's like, oh, not much, like a book every couple of days. And she's like, that is a lot. Like, and I think it was just like they had like a discussion, and it was quite a nice thing to like read about getting into reading, and how if you're struggling, like he says, set the time for 20 minutes if you feel like you're not, like for people who are new to reading and don't think they could just sit down and read a book. It is a muscle you have to develop to read. And I think people who don't read don't realise that. Like if they've never really been a reader, they don't realise it's not just something that does necessarily come naturally to people. People who have read from being a kid all the way through, yeah, it does, but that's because they've literally developed that reading muscle for their whole life. But when I think about when I got into reading at the beginning of last year, I read a lot slower than I do now. And yeah, it was just quite insightful about reading and how the world would probably be a better place if more people read, just because it builds empathy. And I've noticed, it's a thought I had when I was reading that like interview, that I feel like I'm always like, oh my god, I cry. I love how my knee is just in the foreground of this video. Let's move out of there. I cry over everything now. And I've been trying to figure out why I get teary over things. And it probably is just because I read more, and therefore I've got like, it develops your empathy more. And you become more empathetic. And that's probably why I cry more these days. But that's not a bad thing, because it's a very cathartic release of emotion. So yeah, it just seems quite cute at the moment. I think I want to know more about Jimmy, the coffee roaster, because she is the one who's the unhappily married person. And it sounds like she's basically got a husband who is just a waste of space. But it's an interesting thing because she had said herself before she met that man that she never wanted to get married because all she has seen is every other woman in her life who was married be miserable. Because let's be real, I don't know if anyone is very well versed who watches my videos in goings on in Korea. I'm not like an expert in by any means, but there is this is it called the 4K movement? It's for something. Basically, women at the moment in Korea are not getting with Korean men because the sexism, the misogyny, the patriarchy in Korea is awful, and women just don't get treated well by men, and so they've stopped marrying. Or like a lot of women are basically saying, I'm not going to marry a man, I'm not going to have a boyfriend, we're not going to have kids with these men, because they need to learn to change their behaviour. And it's so far really working. There is a whole area in Korea where there is not a single child in like the first grade class or something, and it's not been going on for that long. So there's that, but there's also like there's a TV show, I think it's still going. Why have I forgotten what it's called? Hello Counselor. It's a TV show called Hello Counselor. I don't know if it's still going on, but it was a big show for like years and years. And usually they'd get celebrities on with the hosts, and they would give the audience advice. And you'd see so many women go on, and they had husbands who just were waste of space. I'm sorry, but how were they putting up with these men? I'm not just put my other knee now in the foreground. Anyway, so what Ginny said, it really resounded with what I know of Korea, because we can all romanticize Korea and Korean men because of K-pop, but there is a massive problem with how women are treated by men in Korea, and it's something that people probably should be aware of, and something that hopefully will change. But anyway, let's not talk about Korean politics right now. Yeah, it was interesting seeing that, because then this woman like fell in love with this man, and she was like, you don't have to have a job, I'll support you, just marry me. And now he does nothing all day, and she comes home to a messy house, no food in the fridge because he's eaten it and not bothered replacing it. And I just think I couldn't. Like, if he's not got a job, he could at least keep the house in good shape and make sure there's food in the fridge, and make sure his wife who's providing for him is fed. So I want to see more of that side of things, because I really wanted to leave him, to be honest. And then there's Minjun, who's the barista, who seems to be very lost in life. Yeah, you're not actually following Youngju, who's the owner of the bookshop, very much. It's a lot of it at the moment is kind of following Minjun. So yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. I didn't realise I had 7 minutes worth of talking to do about this book. Okay, I haven't updated you in a while. I'm in the last 100 pages. I've got about 80 to go. It's took a little turn. There's a slight, not a romance exactly, I don't know if I would call it that, but there is some romantic subtext between two of the characters. This book is really deep. There's been chats about society and how, especially in Korea, and I think it's probably the same in Japan, the whole in Korea work culture is very strong, and the work day is very long, and I think it's quite common for people to work 6 days a week, which is not common here in the UK. And when Minjun was hired, she gave him, like, it's an 8-hour day, 5 days a week, which is a very, very common British work time. The whole 9 to 5, 5 days a week. That's the norm. And that's classed as part-time, which to me is mad. But they had like a book club discussion about a book that was sort of discussing whether that is a fulfilling life if your life is just work, which it's not. And I think that's a lot of what our generation is coming to realise, is that there's more to life than work, and it's not always the most healthiest way to live life is just to work. You need to have playtime, you need to have relaxed time, and time to just switch off. So they had like a really good sort of discussion at one point about that. And then there's also been really good discussions about happiness and what is it that brings happiness, and about happiness maybe being something you chase or being fleeting or just different. It's had quite a few deep topics, quite philosophical conversations throughout the book in different ways, which I've really enjoyed, because I people, you won't know this about me, but I genuinely really enjoy philosophy, and I studied it in A level, and I would love to study it as just in my spare time. I just don't know where to start, and it's very overwhelming. But I love discussing philosophy and ethics because it's so subjective and so personal in some ways, and I think it's a good way for people to, I guess, learn about other people. And yeah, I don't know, it's just a topic I love, and I love debating it and discussing it. But yeah, so I wasn't really expecting that in this. We've had a couple characters become more important. So one of the customers is now working at the bookshop. They've been like brought into it more, and the teenager's mum, who's neither of their names I can remember. Is she called Heiju? Yeah. I just think this is a very comforting book. That's the feeling it gives, is comfort. So yeah, I might finish this tonight. There might be a tiny bit for me to finish tomorrow. Depends. I'm really tired. I started feeling really sick earlier for no reason, but I think I'm overtired again. So yeah, we'll see. I'll try to finish it tonight, but who knows. I finished Welcome to the Hyungandong Bookshop literally as I was coming up my street on the bus. I finished the last page. Like, well, I read the author's note, so it was the very end of the author's note. This is the first book I've ever actually read the author's note, but I was interested in what she was going to say. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. It just kind of got cozier and cozier as you went on, and I don't have a whole lot to say about it for some reason. I don't know why. I think for me, this type of book is just for the vibes. The writing style is obviously completely different, because generally how Koreans structure their sentences, you notice if you watch an American show and then you watch like a K-drama, how they speak is completely different when it's translated, because it doesn't translate to how British and American people structure their sentences, if that makes sense. It's a lot more formal. I mean, obviously they have slang, like every country does. They have slang that's not used. There's no slang used in this. But it's hard, I think, to use slang when it's translated. So maybe in the original Korean, there's possibly slang terms, but it's written very proper, if that makes sense. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think you can tell, because in the author's note she said she just sort of wrote and just saw where it took her, and you can kind of tell that there was no plan from beginning to end, and it was just these characters are writing themselves, this story is writing itself. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts. I just know that I enjoyed it. Again, it had a very comforting feeling about it. I wish this bookshop was real. I would love to go to it. It sounds like such a calming space to be, and it seems a lot of people have found it to feel like a home, kind of feeling like it's made them feel at peace. So I just wish it was a real shop that I could go to. Not that I can afford to go to Korea, but if I could. But yes, I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend. I'm probably rating it a 4.25. I liked it more than the second Murasaki Bookshop book. I liked it more than that, so 4.25 I think. The last book we are reading in this video is going to be Love Story by Lindsay Kelk. This one, I think she's an author. Is this actually set in a bookstore? Well, it says one small town bookshop. So, oh, Emily Henry has written on this, so hopefully I really like this, because I need something that, after the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, because obviously Maud is at the Murasaki Bookshop and Welcome to the Hyunam Down Bookshop. They're not books necessarily that you read to like feel like binge worthy, oh my god, I need to know what happens next. They're more of like a comfort read, something to make you just feel warm and fuzzy. I need a romance after the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which was very disappointing. That just makes me feel so much, because my last reading vlog, I had 4 really good books, and I need that again. So please, this writing is so big. Wow. So she's a small town school teacher. He's a hotshot creative director. To go at Hate at First Sight. So where's the bookshop? Because it says one small town bookshop. And I think she's a writer. I'm confused if this is actually set in a bookshop or not. But that is making me think it is, so we're including it in the video. I really hope I enjoy this. If Emily Henry enjoys it, I'm sure I will. I've just saw the word book talk. We're not gonna let that deter us. Okay, let's start reading Love Story by Lindsay Kelk. Okay, it's so dark. I don't know what to do about the lighting, but it's just really gloomy outside. It's literally 10 to 9. It should not be this dark. It's not that early. Anyway, I'm just over 100 pages in, and I was reading in bed this morning, and I stopped reading and waited until I wanted to get up and get dressed and talk to you about it, because I looked rough this morning, to discuss this book. So far I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm reading it quite quickly. I'm in the story. That's quite fun. I'm excited for the romance, because I like how they have this like back and forth where he is just deliberately trying to like irritate her. It's quite funny. What I don't like is the family, because she's like, oh, I love being with my family, I have a great family. I'm like, no, you've got a great brother and your parents are all right, but they're the kind of literary people who are just a bit elitist, and I don't like that, because the whole point of this plot is she is an anonymous author going by a pseudonym, and she won't tell her family, only her brother knows. And the reason she won't tell her family is because her dad is a big wig in the publishing world and her mum is a big like book critic. And yeah, I don't blame her, because the book has come up in front of her mum, and her mum hasn't even read it, hasn't even picked up the book, and immediately has preconceptions about it being just misogynistic erotica for lonely women. And that's not what she wrote it for, and that's not what other people take the book as. But she's just completely prejudiced about it because it's a romance with some smut. And I hate that, because I only got I liked reading as a teenager, kind of fell out of it a bit, and then I only really got back into reading last year. But the way I see it is, if you read 1 book a year, that's great. If you read 50 books a year, that's great. If you read over 100 books a year, that's great. If you read only fiction, like literary fiction, that's great. If you read only memoirs or non-fiction or self-help, that's great. If you read only romance or only fantasy or only crime or whatever, that's great. If you only read the Daily Mail, maybe don't take everything that's in there as gospel, but that's great. It doesn't matter. If you're reading, it's great. It doesn't matter what you're reading, doesn't matter how much you're reading, as long as it brings you joy and it's giving you more perspective on things, or even if it just brings you out of a hard time or it helps you relax at the end of a hard day or anything, that's great. I don't care what you read. I don't even care if you don't really read. Who cares? It's all just everyone's hobby. The fact that, yeah, she's a book critic, whatever. Realistically, a good book critic should not be prejudiced about certain book genres. So she's meant to be this like scathing, like famous book critic, but the way I see it is clearly you won't read certain kinds of books, which means you've got a biased opinion on what a book should be, so you should not be a book critic. Because immediately you're going to be putting, I'm taking this way too seriously, it's a work of fiction, but I'm just annoyed on behalf of her because she has to hide something that means a lot to her, something that she's so successful in from her family, because they're arseholes. Because they're small-minded literary elitists, and I don't like that, because why? So what if it's not fucking War and Peace? So what if it's not A Picture of Dorian Gray? Like, so what if it's not whatever? I don't know what literary greats are of this time, because I don't care. Why is there a fly in this room, and how long has it been in here for? It's a regular fly, it's nothing that'll sting me. I don't know who the literary greats of my time is, because it's not necessarily what I go out of my way to read, because when I read for fun. So I read romance and I read fantasy, and I am starting to branch out into other genres. I'm open to other genres, so that is the point. But I'm also not saying I'm a critic. I feel like if you're going to be a book critic, you should be open to all genres for what they are. People are reading romance to have a bit of fun, to just feel some enjoyment, to have a giggle, and to believe in love again. Because in this day and age, do any of us actually believe in love? Because I don't, because no. And other people are reading fantasy to completely escape the world, because the world we live in is terrifying and horrible. So then, like I say, I want to branch out into other books and learn more from them. Like, I want to read The Secret History, which is completely different to what I normally read. And I just think if you're going to be so small-minded about particular genres, you probably shouldn't work in the book industry. And also, it's not that deep. So what if someone likes a smutty little romance? If it's what they enjoy, it's what they enjoy. You don't have to enjoy that particular type of writing. But don't judge other people or berate other people or just talk harshly about those people, because that's just not necessary. So that's my take. So far I hate the parents. I also hate the younger sister, whose name is Charlotte, and I don't like it. She's very entitled, the younger sister. She's kind of getting given everything she wants. So our main character is the middle child. Thankfully, she's got the older brother, William, is great. I love him. He is the only member of the family who knows at this point. And he's great. He's a good sibling. Charlotte is just... she is the epitome of the youngest child in times 10, because there's not a regular age gap between them. It's 10 years or something. So yeah, it's also not technically set in a bookstore. However, there is a bookstore in this, which is stupid. That's all I'm going to say for now. Anyway, I am still enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the romance picking up. I'm going to continue reading. Now I've told you my thoughts, and I can continue. I'm nearly halfway through now. And this book has took, well, not a turn. My last clip was me going on about how the mum is annoying, and now she's done a bit of a 180, being like, well, reading romance technically is feminist because of something. I don't want to spoil anything, so because of a turn of events that's just happened, she's like, well, technically if a woman wants to read a romance, as we're calling it, come on, then that's a feminist act. And I'm like, also, I'm like, listen, I am ashamed to have the same name as the younger sister in this book. She's an entitled, bratty little piece of shit, and I don't like her, because why does she keep going through Sophie's things? It's ridiculous. Honestly, what is she doing? She's so entitled. She's such a brat, and I don't like her. She's only 18, and she thinks that she has... I don't know. She thinks she's God's gift to the world. She's so entitled. She may as well be a man. She's that insufferable. I have many feelings, but I'm enjoying Jo. Jo is great at this point, so... Okay, I'm testing out a new microphone that I got. I'm not gonna lie, I got this off TikTok shop. If I hold it and like my hand moves a tiny bit, it makes really bad noise. So I'm trying it here and see what this is like. I've also got a new light, which could do, yeah, with being a bit brighter. I am really shiny. So anyway, I finished Love Story literally just a second ago. I'm probably going to rate this a 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. I was giggling. Didn't like the family, and then the family redeemed themselves. But the bookshop has like 2 scenes in this, and then other like a few little mentions. So it's not really about a bookshop, so it's maybe wasn't quite right for the video, but the video is now filmed. This is the last book. We're done now. But also, yeah, it takes place over like a weekend. So basically, it's insta love, and I don't like insta love. I mean, it wasn't bad. I did enjoy it. So yeah, it wasn't bad. I did enjoy it. So it is a 3.5, but the ending brought it down for me. It was gonna be like a 4 probably, but the reconciliation brought it down for me, and the fact it was so insta love brought it down for me. And like it says enemies to lovers or sworn enemies. They're not. They're not sworn enemies. So it's like in a weekend you've gone from hating each other, well, her hating him, to now you're in love. That's a no for me personally. So yeah, 3.5 I enjoyed, but there's a few tropes I don't like. And how, yeah, like I say, there is one thing in books I don't like for the reconciliation of the third act breakup. I don't want to say what it is, obviously, because I don't want to spoil things. But if you read this, you'll probably know I didn't like it in what book was it? What book was it? What book was it? It was a millionaire romance. I can't think of what book it was. To give us another example. Seriously though, what book was it? I read it this year. It was My Dark Desire. I saw My Dark Romeo and immediately remembered it was My Dark Desire. I love that book, but the ending, no. Similar thing. Similar thing. Just different venue, really. Yes. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed this video less than the last one. It was all right, but I'm ready to read something that's gonna like. I want a 5 star, please. Although I've had 2 this month, I can't really be picky. I've had some decent reads this month. Let's be real. Yes, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.